The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Burkeen, brought to you by Harvey Autos in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you've trusted for years. Geico, the insurance savings you expect. Supreme Chevrolet, expect more from Supreme Automotive Group and Gonzalez. Total Car Care, tire shop and automotive repair in Baton Rouge. Bollinger Shipyards, 75 years of delivering high-quality vessels. And the Bugman, we get them before they get you. Here's your host, Lee Burkeen.
Hi everyone, I'm Lee Burkeen of the Sports Scouting Report podcast, your host, owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since 1997, and today we're doing part 2 of our All-Louisiana team for North Louisiana for defense. We're going to talk about the rest of the defense. We're going to start with defensive backs, corners, and safeties, and then we'll go to kickers and punters, which, believe it or not, it might be the most talented crop of punters and kickers I've ever seen from one part of the state in the country. It's definitely the most talent I've seen from a kicking standpoint in the history of Louisiana for North Louisiana. They have 4 of the top kickers in the country coming out in the class of 224. We'll also talk about long snappers. This is class of 224 kids only, so we can mention everybody that was well deserving that made the first team for North. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to start talking about who made the All-Louisiana team for North at defensive back. We'll start with cornerbacks when we come back. Welcome back. Lee Burkeen, your host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast, also the owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since 1997. If we've got some new viewers out there, I hope you're enjoying the show. And I want to promote, again, this is all about promoting a little deeper. This is a little bit different than the all-state teams and all-district teams. This is a chance to share from my scouting since 91, the top guys in the state, regardless of what you've heard. I want to include everybody that deserves mentioning, all the other kids that are good enough, because rankings are not always right, and a lot of guys aren't being ranked that should be. And I want to make sure we go over that thoroughly, and I hope you enjoy what we do. We're going to go ahead and continue with cornerbacks for our part 2 of our defense for North Louisiana. A lot of good cornerbacks. I know South Louisiana usually has more skilled guys. North Louisiana tends to have more linemen. But this year, the 224 class, North Louisiana held their own with DBs. We're going to go ahead and start with corners. Our first guy is Eric Voorhees from Peabody. Eric is a guy that's got good height, good range, and what I like most of all is he's a big-time hitter. He can read. Continuing on, Trey Davis from Calvary Baptist had over 12 interceptions over the last 2 years combined at Calvary. Very instinctive guy, and again, very aggressive and can run. D1 all day long. Continuing on, as a corner and strong safety, the best hitter as a DB that I saw in North Louisiana the last 2 years comes from Wassman High School, Jordan Williams. He reminds me of some of the best hitters to ever come out of the state. He's that good. You hadn't heard a lot about him, but again, I'm just sharing it with you. He's a guy that really can play the game. He can play strong safety or corner in college. Continuing on, Zane Williams from Carroll in Monroe. Another talented DB that can run. Cornerback Alan Price from Neville in Monroe. I love this kid. He really got to play his first full year and show his ability, and he can really run. He's got good size. Deshaun Youngblood, who started his career at a different school, finished at Captain Shreve, kind of under the radar, but a long, big DB that can run out of Captain Shreve. Corey Toston from West Washita. We've talked about their program with other players. He's another one. He can run, and I like that he hits. Continuing on at DB from Green Oaks. This kid sat out the year because he was hurt, but I didn't want to leave him out because he deserves to be one of the best players mentioned for North Louisiana. Torian Ellis. This is where Travis White from LSU played, and Rivero Swan, who went to LSU, a linebacker, Green Oaks in Shreveport. Jamar Samuel from Bossier High in Bossier City, a great football player under the radar. Continuing on, Keaton Flowers, who started his career off as a receiver, played receiver, but I think he's a corner at the next level from Captain Shreve in Shreveport. Very good kid, too. Brennan Benton from Menden High School. You know, the last time I said they had a sleeper DB, no one recruited him but Louisiana Tech, and now he plays for the Chiefs, one of the top defensive backs in this Snead. If you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, it's trying to go to the Super Bowl. Snead is one of the best DBs in the NFL. LSU did not offer him. The next guy, Brennan Benton from Menden. Remember the name. He reminds me of Snead. You know, he's great size, and he's a big-time hitter, and he can run. I think he's D1 all day long. Jeremiah Boudreaux, who's from Maryland, Bossier City, tall guy, runs a 10.8 in the 100 meters in track. Catravers Banks from Homer, signed with Ole Miss. Another track guy that runs a 10.6, 10.7, big tall cornerback from Homer, Louisiana. Javion Allen from Woodlawn in Shreveport, 4-year starter, can run, another track guy. Jalon Johnson from Alexandria, played receiver for Coach Bachman. I'm putting him as a corner because of his speed, and he just needs to work on his hands a little more to play wide receiver at the D1 level. Excuse me. Samaji Jones from, let me get some water real quick. Samaji Jones from Ruston High School. If you see on the screen, not a very big guy. Samaji's, you're not even 160, but let me tell you, one of the toughest cats you'll see in the state of Louisiana. Shutdown corner. One of the main reasons they won the state championship on defense. They had that big D line, but this guy was incredible at DB. Jeremiah Swim from Caldwell caught my eye this year in his junior year. Great player, great tough kid that will cover you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about safeties, strong safeties and free safeties from North Louisiana. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Lee Burkeen, the host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast, the owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since 1997. Glad to be here and talk about the All-Louisiana team for North Louisiana. This is part 2 for our defensive team. We talked about D linemen in the first show. We talked about linebackers. This show we started off with corners. Now let's talk about safeties. Some of the top hitters. How do you make this team as a safety? You got to be tough, and you got to come up and play downhill. And there's a few of them in North Louisiana. Let's go ahead and get started. Chris Jackson from Calvary Baptist. This is not Chris Jackson for LSU basketball, but Chris Jackson from Calvary Baptist in Shreveport. Phenomenal cover guy that can run for days. I think he's D1. Howard Curry from Faraday, a 4-year starter. I had a chance to watch this kid. He played 3 different positions, but make a great D1 corner. Very physical player. Can run. Here's a great name, the name team. Maximus Kedris from Tioga, who's been offered D1 in track. I did a story on him in the Shreveport Journal, the Rapides Parish Journal. This is a phenomenal player. Come up, plays downhill, but he's also a great track guy. Chris Bryant from Marksville, very physical. Again, downhill, come up and hit you. I really like Chris. Continuing on, Marion Ford from Ash High School in Alexandria, another physical downhill safety. Dexter Compton, who played linebacker basically for Bunkie, but really a safety for college. Very physical player. Carter Wells, when you talk to the head football coach at Parkway, outside of Aaron Burrell, the kicker who's going to LSU, he thinks he's the best player on the team, hands down. Carter Wells, big leader, downhill hitter for Parkway in Bossier City. Tatron Hanley from Neville got to show his skills for 1 year at 223, has great size and a good hitter. Cedric Allen Jr. from Peabody I had a chance to watch this year. Very physical, very instinctive. Jacoby Jackson from Menden, another Menden player who's very underrated, come up and stick you and can run. Tertavion DePass from Peabody, originally from South Louisiana, moved to Alexandria. His coach, Harry Coleman, they're from the same town. He was at West St. Mary High School, right outside of Franklin in that area. But D'Artavian was one of the best football players in Louisiana in 223. tall and can run for days, play receiver too. But I think he's a big-time D1 safety. J.J. Powell, another specimen from Rayville, had a phenomenal senior year. If you see the screen, he's got the size, and he's very physical. Also, another player, Marion Lars from Houghton, who is a big guy, who missed his junior year because of an injury, came back his senior year and had a very good year. Marion looks the part and can do it. I think he's D1. When we take a break, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about kickers and punters. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about long snappers. They're very well deserving because when the game's on the line, they have to perform well. And a lot of these guys are never mentioned, but we got a big old crew of kids to talk about when we come back. Hi everyone, Lee Burkeen, your host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast, also owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since 1997. Today's show is our Louisiana Football Magazine All Louisiana team for North Louisiana, our defense, part 2. And if you didn't see part 1, go back and watch it because we're trying to split the shows up so the show's not too long. And so people don't have to spend an hour on a show. You can watch a half an hour to 45 minutes on each show to catch the whole defense. And we have part 1 and part 2 of offense if you didn't catch it. And if you're a new viewer, a mom or dad or a coach or just anybody, hit the free subscribe button, please, and help us grow and help us do more for high schools and to promote these kids. We can do more of this, and we're growing it, and very excited about that. Let's continue on. We're going to talk about punters before kickers, but there's some good punters in North Louisiana. It's hard to find these guys. Not everybody has good punters. Not a lot of schools even punt. You got to have good hang time, and you got to have distance. And so our first guy is Lincoln Hopper from North DeSoto, who also is a linebacker for North DeSoto, and their coach Dennis Dunn, but he's got a cannon leg, one of the best in the state. Continuing on, a quarterback we talked about earlier in one of the different shows, Hudson Heron from Northwood, a big tall guy with a cannon leg, big time punter. And finally, at punter, Will Finley from Ruston, who also kicks, has a great leg, a big guy. If you see on the screen, he's got the size, all these guys do. But Will Finley, to me, is one of the best in the state that nobody's talking about. And he did kicking and punting for Ruston High School. We're also going to talk about kickers. And I've got a large list. I don't ever remember the list being this big for North Louisiana. I don't actually remember a list being this big for kickers in Louisiana. This is the greatest crop of kickers I've ever seen for Louisiana. And you'll hear about 2 or 3 of these guys. The headliners are Abram Murray, who signed with Miami Hurricanes from Bird, C.E. Bird in Shreveport. Abram's got a leg that's up to 60 yards plus. And also from the Shreveport area, from Bossier City, from Parkway, you got Aaron Burrell, who signed with LSU, who's also got a 60-plus leg. And both of these guys kick it off in the end zone 5 yards deep. That's hard to find for college. I'll predict that Murray and Burrell will be kicking off for their prospective colleges day 1 if they don't win the kicking job day 1. And they both eventually will be the starters for those 2 programs, Miami and LSU. Now let's talk about the other kickers that are big time from North Louisiana. You've got Payne Williams from St. Mary's in Natchitoches, who's kicked several over 40 yards as a 4-year starter, who also played wide receiver for the program. Payne has kicked several over 40. He's got a leg up over 55 yards. He's attended camps at Alabama and LSU. It's going to be interesting to see where he signs because wherever he goes, he's a big-time D1 kicker. John Chance from Captain Shreve. He doesn't get the recognition because of Burrell, because of Murray being at Shreveport, but he's another kid with a 50-yard plus leg who can kick the ball deep in the end zone. Continuing on, Deacon LaFollette, a great name from Manny, has a cannon leg, a big guy. Ron Hicks, Menard High School in Alexandria. Holy Savior Menard, another great leg. William Hillman, who I noticed this year from West Washita, Great on kickoffs. Again, a D1 leg. Carter Ebar from Houghton. Didn't get the recognition in the Shreveport area because of so many great kickers. As steady as they come, and a guy that can kick college ball, in my opinion. Jake Deal from Neville, one of the biggest guys you'll see on the list, who can really kick it, and he's a guy who can play the position in D1 because of his size. Brody Van Dyke from Alexandria High School, who, that's where Chris Bonio went, who played in the NFL as a coach. Another great kicker from North Louisiana, can kick it over 45, 50 yards. Thomas Clack from Oak Grove, another great kicker with a great leg. And then lastly, another kicker that I want to mention who's as good as anybody in the state, from Ouachita High School in Monroe, Emilio Rios, who has, again, a leg for 50 yards plus and has made a bunch of them over 40 yards in high school. I hope you enjoyed that list. When we come back, we're going to talk our final position, long snappers. They need all the exposure because nobody ever talks about them, and we'll talk about that group when we come back. Hi everyone, Lee Burkeen, welcome back. I'm the host of the Sports Scouting Report podcast, also owner of Louisiana Football Magazine since 1997. If you're a new viewer, please consider subscribing. Up top, hit the subscribe, share, and like. Please help us grow so we can do more. If you're a mom or dad or a coach or whoever you are watching, we appreciate it. Please tell others so you can share it and like it and subscribe. And I'd like to do much, much more and do much of this in the future and grow it more and more. Excited that we could do North Louisiana. This is part 2 for defense. This is our final position. Long snappers, which everybody needs one in college. And most college rosters only carry 2. Isn't that crazy? If they ever had injuries to 2 long snappers, and they'd have to say, hey, who can do this, right? Because every position on a college team has like 3 or 4 guys on the team that can play the position at least. Some positions have 10 or 11, like OD line. But there's only 1 or 2 usually on a college team, a D1 team, including walk-ons. You might have 3. But here are some well-deserving long snappers for North Louisiana. Again, a good list that I was able to find by watching film and watching how they perform in games. Let's start with Grant Johnson from C.E. Byrd High School in Shreveport. Grant Johnson is not only on this list, but he's one of the top 3 long snappers in the United States. And he's going to have a chance to choose wherever he wants to go, whether it's walking on or getting a scholarship at the end in February. He is one of the top players. He's visited Memphis, he's visited LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and I think he'll choose from one of those or maybe some other schools, but everybody wants him as a long snapper for their college. He's a great kid and also a baseball catcher for Byrd High School. Continuing on, Gunnar Hale from Oak Grove, a lineman, a fullback, but a great long snapper, big guy as you see on the screen, his size. Continuing on, Brian McMillan. North DeSoto's got great special teams in the return game as a punter. They've got great kickers, and now they got Brian McMillan, who's also a linebacker, all district for college. Continuing on, Joe Morrow from Ruston, a sleeper, a late bloomer, but Ruston's known for producing great long snappers for college. And one more kid that I noticed on film has a great chance to do it in college if he wants to. From Neville and Monroe, Sutton Lewis, who came on the scene. I saw him play, did a good job, I thought, with field goals and punts as a snapper, and I think he could be a long snapper in college as well. I hope everybody enjoyed our shows. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of defense, and if you didn't see part 1, go back and watch it. And we also got part 1 and 2 of offense for North Louisiana, class of 224 only. Lee Burkeen's Louisiana Football Magazine, our 28th year doing this. Again, hope everybody really enjoyed it. I enjoyed sharing, watching these kids. I also enjoyed being able to try and help some kids and bring it up to the public that, hey, if you don't see this kid's name on a recruiting website, Doesn't matter. I'm giving you everybody that should be mentioned on the top list for D1 1AA. Regardless of ranking, these are the guys that I thought were the best players in North Louisiana. Hope everybody has a great week. See you soon.
Thanks for watching the Sports Scouting Report with Lieber King.